Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho Mutlani. I've got Tim Delace here with me. We talk all things South African cricket. We talk if you want to hear our thoughts on the World Cup and the exit, that's the last episode. So just go back a little bit on the One World Sports Radio YouTube channel. We're also on audio at Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just type in Full Quota Podcast as it's written there in the corner, and you'll find us. So our thoughts were done on Friday. The only thing I'll say, we're going to talk about the end of the World Cup, and that's it. But outside of that, please do follow us on X. Please do subscribe to the One World Sports Radio channel. There's many other podcasts on there. Crash Ball, which is a rugby podcast. We've got Cheap Seats with the soccer podcast, and we also got Full Quota, which is the cricket podcast. We cover quite a lot. But this one is a South African cricket podcast. We talk all things South African cricket domestically mostly, and then we will dabble in the Proteas whenever they're playing. We do this all year round, so your support will be greatly appreciated, and please do leave comments and reviews. We do appreciate your comments. We really got some really nice comments on the review podcast of the World Cup, so thank you for those. And yeah, so it's the day after the big dance, the day after India's crowning moment in glory. What is it? Dissipated in the most spectacular fashion. I was actually watching at I think Killarney Golf Club yesterday, and there were a lot of Indian fans inside the clubhouse. Like they had set the tables to just watch the big TV. And I walked in the middle of Travis Head taking them on, and Marn is playing the most irritating innings for Indian fans, because Indian fans are excited with pace and being quick and scoring runs at a big pace. And then I'm sitting there going, Marnus must be just hurting them so much, because this guy's scoring at a strike rate of, at one point it was 38, but I think he ended up on like in the high 40s. And I was sitting there going, this must hurt them even more. And I love it. And even the post-match press conference was the same. Oh, well, the presentation was just really weird. Leaving Pat Cummins on an island to be... I don't understand why the players couldn't have been behind the president, so that when they left, then we could celebrate, because the fireworks went off early. But yeah, I'm happy Australia won. Well done, Australia. To the Indian fans, if you stop treating Temba badly, I will support you, but you guys don't like my captain, so I don't like your country. So
and we're going to beat you in a couple of months, so we're going to beat you when it comes.
Yes, and then you're gonna that too, and then you're gonna blame Supersport and everything else. So yeah, I'm okay, because India thinks they control the world of cricket, and they do. So it's nice that they don't win everything. So I'm happy Australia win it. They've won 6 World Cups out of the 13 that have been contested. So yeah, unlucky India, you're just like us. Also, by the way, that was a choke job. That was the biggest choke job in the world. You can't win.
It really was. It really was. I'm sorry. I didn't want to get into a Twitter war, or X war, shall we say? But I nearly did yesterday. It was.
It's a joke.
It was 100%.
And we told them this. We said, lose a game before you get to the semifinals, because Murphy's going to come back and bite you. And it did. It really did.
As soon as Rohit got out, that was it. That was the plan was out the water. So then they just capitulated.
And Virat then went out, got his 50, went out, and then it was silent. And then Australia came and showed that they know how to win finals. And some guys have won World Test Championships, some guys have won World T20 Championships, and now they're completing cricket. But kudos to Pat Cummins. I think the decision to bowl first in a World Cup final was on a pitch that was played on before. So you know that it's going to be even worse by the time you bat for the next 50 overs. And he still was like, well, this is how we're going to win it. And yeah.
Obviously, I want us to get into what we can discuss, but I just want to add, I've been very critical of Pat the last 12 to 18 months as a captain, not as a player, but as a captain. his captaincy to yesterday was top notch. From the toss, field placings, everything. It was absolutely the best job he's done as captain that I've seen. It was
This
absolutely
week,
top draw stuff.
this entire week, he's been on top of it. And on top of that, Australia have reminded that fielding is also a third discipline in this game of cricket. And they've used it to great effect against South Africa and India. And to a certain extent, the choice of Marnus over Stoinis because of fielding was a masterstroke. They were throwing themselves away. Like even 37-year-old David Warner, just that backward point again, reminding us that backward point is still important, you know? So, yeah, well done to Australia. 2027's coming. Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. But we've got 4 more years to prepare for it. So, yeah, we've got a Champions League trophy in Pakistan that might not happen, but if it does, it'll be great. India won't be there, so we'll probably play with like 9 teams. Um, and I hope the ICC
No,
actually say that, and
there's a
they don't push back. Right? We need
there's a
India to go to Pakistan.
yeah. I agree. But there's a T20 World Cup in about 6 months.
That
That's where
looks like a
everybody's
soccer
focused.
World Cup. That's like
You know,
cricket's entrance into soccer. 20
I love
teams,
it. I
four
love
group,
it.
five
I
groups
love
of
it.
was it 4 groups of five? 4 groups of five. Super 12 or Super 8. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a Super 8. And then you then
I
have
love it.
semifinals and then a final. So there's a little bit of traditional cricket inside there. I don't like Super 8s. I want you to go quarterfinal, semifinal, final, and we go home. Right? We've already played 20 matches. Like I don't need to see more T20. I don't need another Super 8, but it's for the Indians and everyone else who's worried that they're not getting enough money out of a tournament because they want to make it long and have a lot of games. So yeah, we'll be talking about that because I've got 6 T20s, but we need to talk about something that's happening tomorrow. Currently, West Indies A and South Africa A are preparing to play 3 matches, 4-day matches, in an inbound series for South Africa A, essentially for both teams to prepare themselves, prepare the next group of guys. Well, West Indies is doing that, trying to find their next group of guys. South Africa's trying to find guys to go play New Zealand because in February in New Zealand, when the SA20 final, which has now been announced, is in Newlands, Tim. So congratulations. Um, and I see it's raining there. So I was like, well, on the rainiest day in Cape Town, they get told that they're going to be hosting an SA20 final. That means that a lot of the South African test team will not be playing because they're contracted. So if a player's contracted with SA20, they will not be playing that World Test Championship series in New Zealand. So Timber Bavuma's out. Rassie van der
Rabada.
Dissen is out. Rabada is out. Gerald Coetzee is out. Marco's out. Aiden's out. Hannah Clausen's out. Senran Mutusami is out, and you know how they used Sen in the last test series. He's out. Keshav is out. Shamsi's out, if you wanted to include Shamsi. Who would have been an interesting cap for him because he's only got one. And then Simon Harmer, uh, Tim's favorite, is also out. So a really depleted side. Lungi's not playing. We don't have bowlers. We don't have batsmen. We don't even have a wicketkeeper. So this series is to kind of give guys a chance to put their hand up, guys who played well in South Africa in domestic cricket, and see if they put their hands up and thingy. We've also seen a return of some form of Proteas, and one of those Proteas was Dane Pete, and he did a podcast with us when he came back when he's playing for the iTech Knights now to kind of explain what the phone call was what's the reason why he's back in South Africa. So he explained that. So go back about I think 3 episodes to have a chat there. And then there's another interesting name that's going to pop up, and we'll talk about it as we go along. But so that's what it is today, right? So tomorrow they start their 4-day game in Benoni, Son of My Sorrow, at Willamore Park. Hopefully I'll be able to go out there on Friday if it's on. And then they play again 2 other matches, one in East London and one in Bloemfontein. So it's a nice little. It's like a test series So if you're a purist, watch it because it'll be nice. It feels like a test series. I'd love them to play an extra game because you allow guys to actually put up mammoth scores. You can't put up 500. You have to like keep it at 420 if you want to win the game. But essentially, I don't think both teams will be wanting to winning. They want to give guys a chance, so bat for as long as possible, essentially, and give guys an opportunity to bowl. Um, it's interesting also where they've chosen, but we'll talk about that. So let's start with that, Tim. Let's start with your initial thoughts around this SA tour, and then we'll go into the squad.
So you broke up there a little bit. My initial thoughts on the tour and what else?
Yes, just
Just
the
that.
tour, then we'll get into
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I love it. I looked into it before we came on just to see how recently we played a tour, and it was this year. Funny how it passed me by. Um, but I love it. I love the fact that
Mm,
it's an A tour. I love the fact that it's an A team. It's not an emerging team. It's a team that can be classified even with the SA20 exclusions genuinely as a next best 11 or squad of 15.
mm,
So I'm very happy with it. I'm glad it's a longer format as well. I think what we need improvement in is batting for long periods. So
mm.
I'd still be happy if it was a T20 or 50 overs, we'd still be playing. But I'm much happier that its
No
focus
tour.
is going to be on the longer format, because I think that's going to be very important for the top six, bat for long periods, and I think they will get bat for long periods, considering where we be playing the games. So looking very very much looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
So the way I see it, right, is that I think a lot of the guys who are here have a chance at getting a Proteas cap, right? And I look at a guy like Neil Brand, and we're going to talk about the squad, and I'm sitting there going, he is on the cusp of being selected as a wild card for SA20. So the question then will come is, will he take something like that over the or say no because he wants to play test cricket? Because every cricketer we've interviewed and we've met and all the cricketers, they want to play test cricket for South Africa. So that's going to be quite interesting, right? And so let's have a look at the squad, and then we'll talk about the different storylines, because a lot of storylines here, right? And we'll try to go through a lot of them. So I'm going to read out the squad for our audio people. Neil Brunt, Momentum Multiply Titans. He's the captain of the squad, which is an indication to say that, yeah, he's on the plane there to New Zealand. I like this for him. I really think he's a really good all-round player, and he can add a lot to the team as a batter. David Bedingham, Tim's favorite. We'll talk about him. Ruan de Swart, Tony DeZorzi, who is in the current Proteas squad as a batsman. Clyde Fortain, the wicketkeeper from the Paul Rocks. Zubair Hamza, who is with the Lions currently. He scored a century in this last 4-day game. Tebo Mareki also with the Lions. He's there as well. Mihlalim Pongwana, who is a really interesting all-round talent. Surprised he wasn't picked up in SA20, but that's for Shukri to try and see. I think he'll get a lot of games, and he could be quite a game changer when we go to New Zealand as a raw talent. Duan Olifir, we know him. He dominated and got himself back into the squad. Obviously, last year he didn't get a lot of games in the test team. But yeah, he's the next best quick bowler we have that isn't at SA20. Dane Patterson comes back in. Remember, he made his debut with Bjorn Hendricks at the Wanderers. Got a lot of stick in the first innings, but in the second innings, they held their own. So he's going to be quite interesting to see. Keegan Peterson, who is also in the current Proteas squad, is batting at number 3 or 5 now. He used to bat at 3, now bats at 5. He's going to be quite a important person for Shukri. Dane Pete, we did the podcast with him. He comes back in from the iTech Knights. He's played he's got the most caps out of anybody here from a Proteas perspective. He was the spinner before Keshav took over, and just after Robin Peterson. So he's been around the world. He knows these things, and he's going to be quite valuable for the side. Renat van Tonder, the youngster that everyone wants, is finally going to get his chance. And yeah, it's quite interesting that he also wasn't picked up. And then you've got Hardest Yoon, who effectively this team needs a bowler who can bowl a hard length. He's the guy. And then you have Kaz Zondo, who recently got caps in that Australia series down under. So if I look at the squad, Tim, I think it's quite experienced, right? And it's a very strong squad from the A side. Thinking what the West Indies are probably going to bring down, a lot of youngsters in the fold. They're looking obviously to restructure their side, so it's going to be a very youthful side that the West Indies bring, but South Africa's bringing a very old side. It's a veteran laden side, right? And the first question that everyone has is, where are the youngsters? Why can't we find youngsters to come in and play here? Where's the Brevises? Where are the Mapakas? Where the other guys? Who's the next guy putting their hand up? A Mikhail Prince, he's had a great 50 over series. Where are they?
They're playing an SA20. I think that is very important. We said it already, but I think it is very important for people who are hard of listening, who are not focused, who are multitasking. We did not pick any SA20 contracted players
Yes.
on purpose. It was deliberate. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that out the way. If you look at the squad, if you look at that bowling lineup, is a very experienced bowling lineup, and it is going to need to be on those flat pitches that they're going to be playing on. Hardest for Lynn has been doing the business down at Pal. These pitches are going to be are basically Pal pitches. That's what they're going.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be. So his experience is going to be invaluable. So I like the way they've gone about it. And if you look at the batsmen, actually, the batsmen are all under 30. I don't think there's a single player that is over 30 in that top six. Kaya Zondo is the exception. Quite right. Yeah, Kaya Zondo is the exception. Everybody else is around sort of 23 to 29. That sort of age group. Ideal age. What do these batsmen want? They want a true, consistent wicket to get confidence to score runs. That's what they're going to get. They're going to get that.
Not like the wicket India chose yesterday for the final.
I like that pitch. I hope that we will be able to speak to Marshall from the Caribbean podcast. Sorry about the phone call.
That's okay.
I should have put my phone on silent. Right.
That's okay, Tim. We'll podcasting in 2023. Don't worry.
So I was talking about.
You just said we were hoping to get Marshall on. Just talk about the West Indies side, which we'll still do. So we'll still try to get on. It might be in the middle of the first one.
Yeah, we hope to get him on at some stage. But he has said and pointed out that it is a mixture squad that is coming. So it's not going to be as strong as ours. The main reason being they are playing a series against England at the same time. It overlaps. So some of those guys that you were expecting to maybe come down to South Africa, they'll be in England. So I looked at their squad. The squad is not as weak as you might think. There's still some guys that have played for the national side. It's not going to be a walkover. I don't think it's going to be a walkover, but it won't be potentially as competitive as it might have been.
Okay.
But just on our squad, I'm very happy with it. If you look at the finer details, the experience is where it needs to be. The experience needs to be in the bowling, and that's where it is.
So Tim, let's give our listeners and our viewers a sense of some of the guys who it's actually for them an audition into the main Proteas squad for the next World Test Championship, essentially to continue. So obviously the Dane Peets, unless if they have an incredible time in New Zealand, they might not continue. Hardest for Yoon, Duan Olivier, Kazondo might not Dane Patterson, even a Tipper Mariki. But there are guys here who are, as you mentioned, young enough, can come into the side, going forward long term. The one name here that everyone's been wanting to talk about is David Bellingham. Can you give us a sense of David, where he's at? We heard rumors that he was going to go to the UK and play there. Is this the start of bringing David back into South African cricket for good?
I think that is the intention from his side. He's looked at the. There's no doubt about it. He said it many times. He wanted to qualify for England,
Mm.
but due to it takes a long time for someone like him, to qualify. But if he were to qualify, he would have been 32.
Wow.
32 years old. It's another 3 years of waiting, sitting around playing county cricket. Um, and he just thought, you know what, I need to have a crack. He's desperate to play international cricket. He's desperate, and I know there are going to be people on here going, being David Beckham haters. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You are entitled to your opinion. Um, this opportunity has come about. I'm not gonna begrudge him taking that opportunity. Um, it's come about in a strange way. If you had asked me 6 months ago whether this would happen, I'd said no. Made his
Yes.
choice. It's done. Whether he makes it in England or not is irrelevant. He's closed the door on South Africa. I would have said that. But things move very quickly. Things move very quickly in South African cricket, in
And Graham
world
Smith is quite
cricket.
stubborn.
Um, and our opportunity has come about.
Yeah.
I think if he takes this opportunity, which I think he will, I think he will score runs in New Zealand. I think he will score runs at the series. I think he could be the mainstay of that rock in that middle order that we are looking for. We've now got Tony to support Dean. We've now got Keegan back from injury.
Yes.
But we needed that sort of number 4 or 5. Number 4 or 5 is not settled. It's not not a settled position.
Well,
He has the
Timber
potential.
settled either at 4 or 5. It's just the whether when you want to go with Aiden or somebody else or Keegan as well, because I don't think Keegan is as settled as a 5. Because you'd say Dean and Timber are nailed on, regardless of whatever you do.
Yeah.
It's everyone else
Yes. No.
around
Agreed.
them that
Agreed.
that that you
Agreed.
would question, and will give Aiden leeway. And this is what irritates me, because of the promise that is yet to come, that's yet to come, that's yet to come. And he plays well against one country, that's Australia. Outside of that, he plays badly against others. Whereas you need to give a chance to guys like David, to a certain extent, Reynard van Tonder, Tony De Zorzi, to see if he can cement that top ordered position. And another guy like Clyde Fontaine, right? Heinrich Claessen's in his early 30s. He's not everyone's cup of tea in this format. He's had a great year batting, but it could end in 2024 because somehow these things work in cycles. It's weird. And so I'm happy for David, because I'm glad that he wasn't picked up. And at that SA20 auction, you're just sitting there going, guys, don't pick this person, don't pick this.
Yeah.
And another guy
I, I,
who I feel sorry for is Leos Duploy, right? You're a fan, but he's with the Joburg franchise, right? And so there was a lot of questions that the players had, especially guys who are non-core in SA20, to be like, do I ask them to cancel my contract and hope Shukri picks me up? You know, um,
I'll just to interject slightly. As
mm,
far as I've been told, at far I'm aware, Los is not going to play for South Africa.
okay,
His goal is England. He's younger than Bellingham. The
yeah,
wait for him is not as long. Um,
and
he
he's
can
playing for
very
Hungary in the European Championships because he
yeah.
just needs to get
So
game time.
yeah. So I think as far as South Africa is concerned, which is a shame, that door is at least at the moment closed. I don't see it
Mm.
opening. But then again, I didn't see the Bellingham one opening um, 6 months ago. So who knows?
Yeah. So let's talk about another player who, well, two more, well, another player, Zubair Hamza, drugs ban. He's back now. left the Western Province, come to the Lions. He used to be a Protea. He was always that guy. He was the next batter up for most of the last 5 years, right? And now he gets an opportunity to cement his place in a batting lineup, right? And he scored 100 obviously against Northwest. Didn't have a great September and October, but the Lions never have a great September and October. Um, I'm excited for him. I think if he can score loads of runs, and I think the only way we can get out of New Zealand with anything is if we got guys who are hungry to bat, hungry to score runs, and I think Zubair's that guy.
I like Sabur, but this is going to be a strange considering he used to play for us down at the Cape. I think he should be in the squad 100%. Because of the as we have said many times of the restrictions that Shukri's had.
Mm.
But I'm not convinced that he's got it for the Proteas yet. I need to see more from him. I need
So
to see him. I need to see him batting, scoring runs on pitches that are not flat roads. If it's a flat road, I can see him making lots of runs. If it's not, I'm a bit worried about him.
Okay.
And I still need to see more from him. The talent is there. Talent is undoubted. But I just think he needs to do more for me if I'm gonna be going right. You're gonna play for South Africa in that series against New Zealand. As things stand for me, he makes the squad. He doesn't make the 11.
Oh wow, that's huge. Okay, cool. They're youngsters here now. Run the SWAT. I'm gonna put Clyde Fortin inside there, but they've only gone with one wicket keeping option, so Clyde's in. I'd have loved for them to take Sinokwane. He also bats in the top six for Northwest. He's had a great season last year. He's already started scoring hundreds. Yes, it's in 50 over cricket, but he's the type of guy who can do it. And maybe it's a whole 4-day cricket thing who can keep, but that's fine.
Well,
Uh, yes.
I normally would love to have two keepers in a squad. I'm thinking because it's inbound, if there's an injury, they just drive the guy down. They literally drive him down.
Yeah. Well, yes. Northwest is not far from wherever anyone else is playing, so that's great. Let's talk Rwanda Swat and Mihlali Mpongwana, all right? Both all-round options. One's more of a batter. That's Rwanda Swat. He left KZN. He's now at Northwest. He was one of the youngsters that everyone was raving about in the Northwest in KZN. He's looking to try and cement his place and make a name for himself in the Northwest. And obviously Mihlali Mpongwana, who is a Black African all-rounder, looks like Jason Holder. Probably the West Indians will be shocked, be like, why is he bowling at me? Isn't he supposed to be West Indian? Which we love. He's growing in leaps and bounds, going 100 in the One Day Cup final. Man can bat. He can bowl too. Is this Shukri saying, I might need options at 6 and 7? And let's have a look at these guys, because obviously the guys in the mix are Marco Jansen. We love Marco's bowling. We're not sure about his batting. Also not sure about Marco in big spots. And we think 7's a little bit too high for him. Whereas for these two, 7 would be perfect. Vian Mulder, if he wasn't at SA20, he would be in the squad. But he's not. And we all know what Vian did in Test cricket when he's played. So, for these two, what do you want to see from them?
Okay, so I think Ruan is a little bit lucky in terms of the selection.
Because Jason Smith got selected in the last round of the SA20 auction because John G. Rhodes just wants guys who play in Durban.
And even you could have gone, okay, it would have been a very much a stopgap, a very much a what we think potentially could be the Dan Pitt situation. You could have gone, no, actually you couldn't, because he's not the guy who got SA20.
Ooh.
But my point is, I think he's a little bit lucky because of the T20. It's a T20 stipulation. I think he's a talented boy, but I just think he's he's a little short of where I would want him to be for this if I'm going to pick him for this.
Mm.
But he's talented. Bob McGuire is a different situation. Bob McGuire, I think, has got everything. He's got
Mm.
everything to be a Protea. He's got height, he's got bounce, he's got big much temperament. We saw the big much temperament and a couple of rounds ago in the 4-day series. We've got not 4-day series, the 1-day cup, but what am I
Yes,
talking
yeah.
about? 1-day
Though that
cup.
look, he scored
Uh,
100 in the final. He took wickets
yeah,
in throughout that tournament. He was he was an early version of an all rounder we've been looking to get, who is a bowling all rounder but can actually bat, not
yeah.
this little I can give you 20s and 50s and everything else.
But yeah, so hugely talented, but I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I don't want to repeat of Kashile. I really don't. I really hope we don't see him coming in, failing in the series, losing confidence, and then disappearing for the rest of the season. I don't think that will happen, but I just don't want to put too much pressure on the guy. But a huge talent.
Mm.
Huge talent. I don't actually know whether he's a batting all rounder, which tells you just how good he is. He's performed with bat and ball for Province so far, last season and this season
Mm.
in particular. He's got it. He's got it. He's got the ingredients. It's just about using those ingredients at the right times to make sure that he does actually flourish at this level. Because this is
Yeah,
a step up now.
and
This is a step
and to
up.
a certain extent, he this is where he should be playing. If you were picking an SAA squad under
Yes.
normal circumstances,
Yes.
he's in here. It's a question between Jason Smith, him, and Vian Mulder, essentially. But I wouldn't even pick Vian Mulder at this point in time because I need to see the runs, and he's scoring the runs for the Lions. So,
Yes. But I just so I'm fair, I agree. I'm a Fion fan, but I want to see this for the rest of the season. I don't want to
yeah,
see the 100 we just saw, which was fantastic, and then 5 single
nothing else,
scores. I want to see
you know.
consistency.
Yeah, so he's one I'm interested to see. I don't think Ruan de Swat actually gets a game. I'm not sure. I think he
Yeah.
will, but I think he's there essentially as cover. Neil Brunt is someone who is intriguing because he's in the age profile. He could possibly even put his hand up as Dean's replacement in
Look,
at the end of this cycle, this World Test
we
Championship
spoke
cycle.
we spoke to him about 18 months ago,
Yeah.
and we sort of put that to him, and he laughed because he did make an SAA team already by that
Mm,
stage, and he said it's because somebody was injured. It wasn't because of my performance. It's just I happened, kind of. I'm paraphrasing, but
mm.
I happened to be in the area, and somebody was injured, and I that's not what I'm about. I'd like to think 18 months down the line, he's thinking, you know what? That's an opportunity for me. If I really
Mm,
knuckle down and take the opportunity, it's an opportunity for me. Because if you look at the squad there, it's 5 out and out bowlers, and
mm-hmm.
then that's it. And it's him bowling as a sixth bowling option. We mustn't forget that it's important. I always like to have 6
6.
bowling options. I always like to have 6 bowling options, even if the guy's part timer.
And he's a much better
So
bowling option than per se for people who want to compare. He's a much better bowling option than Aiden. I trust him a lot more with the ball
yeah,
than anybody
yeah.
else, right? And so to a certain extent, that's where I'm looking at it on some. There's an opportunity to bring in a guy with a double skill set into this test team going forward, right? And it's going to be quite important to see even with the India series, because what you'll see with the India series is you'll start seeing Shukri trying to align the squad to have guys who maybe even in the 15 or make it 16, 17 to have guys who are going to New Zealand. And I wouldn't be for one surprised to see Neil Brunt as number 16, 17 there, just to be in the squad to get a sense. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see him and Dean opening with Tony at 3. That wouldn't surprise me in New Zealand at all.
Yeah,
And
it's an option.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he's also one where I'm sitting there going, dude, if you score 100 between now and yeah, in these 3 games, and you like have some sort of match winning innings and you do something with the ball, you could be in
yeah.
seriously serious contention, right? Um, the other one that I want to talk about before I think is Tony DeZorzi, right? Not Tony DeZorzi, sorry, Reynard van Tonder. We know Tony. Tony's in the squad. He's just there to kind of add a little bit more Proteas knowledge into the squad and also give himself some game time because we don't play a lot of 4-day games. Um, Reynard van Tonder. He's been called the flat track bully. He's been he went to what's his thing?
Northwest.
Bloom. He stayed there until they got relegated. Everyone said on a moving pitch, this guy can't bat. He looks pretty, but he can't bat. Everyone's been asking for him to be in the squad. I think there's a person here who I think misses out a lot, and that's Joshua Richards of the Lions. I think he's a really exceptional opener. Um, but yeah, it's and he's not an SA20, so that's how the cookie crumbles. But Reynard is quite interesting, right? He's becoming like a forgotten man in domestic cricket. Everyone sees him as like, oh, he's scoring runs, but scored runs this past weekend or some in some form for Northwest. And so it's quite interesting to see how what his story is, right? As you say, there's options. He's probably the youngest out of the guys there, out of the batters there. Um, what would you want from him? Obviously, you don't want to put pressure on him, but if he doesn't score runs here, I fear he might be left be like, well, he was given a chance. Even if he doesn't make New Zealand, we're like, well, he couldn't even score runs against West Indies A. So is that type of thinking, or is it a situation where if he shows the right stuff, they might give him a chance, maybe even in India, and then take him to New Zealand?
I think it's not. It's slightly different to Bedium. I think Bedium feels like this is like
Score
it's not
runs or go
quite, but
home.
yeah, it kind of feels like last Celine for him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
29. I've got to make my change now. If I want to play for the national side for the next 5 years, this is my chance. Fantonda's got a bit of time. He's got a
Mm-hmm.
couple of years, but still, because he's been talked about so highly for it feels like 5 years now. It feels like we've been
He's the
talking
opposite of Aiden
about
Markram, right? He's the guy who's been doing so well domestically.
just
Everybody wants him, but he actually hasn't been
yeah,
putting down runs.
yeah,
Well, he kind of faded over the last two
yeah.
years. So it's quite interesting where you're sitting there going, dude, but I think you need to start scoring runs now.
Yes,
And
yes. He's now done everything that we've asked him to do. He's
mm,
moved. He's gone somewhere
yes,
else. Okay,
yes.
it's not a big place, but it's a different place. It's a
No, but the
completely
ball
different.
moves. Like
Yeah, it's a
if you
different
bat up top,
environment.
the ball moves.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, he's scoring at what I and what I look at in the last first
Mm,
couple of weeks. He's scoring at a slightly quicker rate. He's not allowing himself to get stuck in and get dominated by bowlers, which he tended to do at the Knights. So that's also a positive move for him. But I do think it's not it's as I say, it's not score or go home kind of thing. But this is my first real genuine proper opportunity to be in the Proteas setup. This is the big one. I've got to make it count. This is
yeah.
not always going to happen. If the 20 guys are not selected, I'm going to be in that middle order. What do the Proteas need? Middle order batsmen. It's my
Mm,
time to shine. So it's all, we'll talk about the stars lining up for India. The stars are lining up for Reinhard Tonda to score runs in the series. On pitches that
yes.
he has been accustomed to, that he likes batting on, it's there. It's there for him to make
Look,
hay.
there's only one man who the stars lined up for this past 6 weeks, well, 8 weeks, and that was Manus Labuschagne. But same thing, just be there, take all the opportunities you're given. Remember, Manus was the initial concussions, the first ever concussion sub, right? Largely because he was in England at the time, and he took it, right? And he came on for Steve Smith, and he became Steve Smith 2.0 in Test match cricket. And the man can't score at a quicker rate, but he's traveled with Australia around the world. He's now put himself in an ODI side when he wasn't supposed to be. When we did the preview to our series, Manos was brought in as cover because there were injuries. Manos from then on, from that South African series, has gone on to play 19 consecutive matches for Australia, ODIs, and he's a world champion today, scoring at a strike rate of 48. So, and that's the thing about this series, SAA series, and that's why it's intriguing. Is if you do something special, it gives you a chance in the next one. Even if it's extra special, you might be there in the dressing room when Virat Kohli is shouting at the stump mic saying, "Stop it, guys! We're tired of super sport." You could be that person. And then if you do well and you've done enough, you could be in New Zealand. And then you could play there and do well there. And you can stay for the rest of the World Test Championship. And there's a trip to Lords inside here somewhere if you actually do well. If any of these guys can win South Africa points, if it's a draw or if it's a win, you are staying. You are staying. But there are guys here, Tim, Dane Pete, Hardest for Leon, Dwan Olefir, to a certain extent, Tepo Moreki. And I think Tepo's a placeholder essentially when Luto comes back, because I think they might take Luto to New Zealand because he's not an SA20. Kazondo, where it's effectively feeling like it's a last chance saloon. It's Hardest, it's Kaya, it's Dane, it's Duan, it's the other Dane. And it's more of a situation of you've probably played for the Proteas before. We're not taking you beyond New Zealand, but here's a chance to play for your country again. It's interesting from a motivation standpoint, right? Why would you sign up to something like that? Are they still believing that if they do something miraculous, they can be carried through, even though, from a spinning perspective, Simon and Kesha coming back. From a fast bowling perspective, you are way down. Like guys like Darren Dupavalon still need to get an opportunity. And sadly, they got picked up as well. Guys like even Bear Swanepoel, who would have loved to be in here, also need to kind of get an opportunity. So how do you motivate those guys? Is it just well, guys, another trip to just collect kit, play for the Proteas, wear the baggy greens again. You guys are still good enough to take wickets, so yeah, let's have one tour, one last time. How do you motivate those guys? Is that how you motivate them?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. But you're right. You're right to split in the squads. The squads, the batting's got talent. You can see futures for them for the next 4 or 5 years. In the bowling, it's experience. We need experience for the squad, so we've got experience. For their individual goals and aspirations, I think if you ask them genuinely, Darren Pete, if you'd asked him 6 months ago what's going to happen, so I'm playing in America. I'm now an American. I might play for America in a year or two, in fact, when I qualify. But essentially, I'm an American. I'm playing in America. I like the Major League Cricket. My time in South Africa is closed door. I mean, I've loved it, but it's done. We know about how that came about. The fast bowling one, that's a tough one. We spoke to Bjorn Hendricks a couple of weeks ago. Bjorn Hendricks is 33. But when we spoke to him, he was not like, I'm hanging my boots up in 18 months. It was, I want to be the best when I can, and I want to reach the top again. That's what he said. 33, I want to reach the top again. I want to play for the Proteas. There's obviously a love for it. There's obviously an aspiration, despite the fact that Cricket South Africa messes a lot of our players around, there's still an aspiration to play for the national side. If it's one game, two games, um, there's still something there. Um, and then on a slightly lighter point of view, they want to play cricket. They guys have said to us week after week they want to play more cricket. This is more cricket.
Mm.
This is
Yes, it
more.
is.
This is more than
And
they're
it's high
getting.
level cricket. It's international cricket.
This is high
It's
level, international.
yeah,
You know.
because
So
New Zealand's not going to come with an A side. They're going to come
no,
with their best. And so yeah, I think that's the challenge, and that's the thing about sportsmen, right? It's the whole argument where guys are like, no, Timber needs to step down. Or needed to step aside because he was playing with the nickel, and Tim was like, guys are playing with broken hands. No one's going to say no to an opportunity to play for your country, and I think that's the thinking, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it around that squad. I think we've covered quite a lot of the guys, and good luck to them. And yeah, it starts tomorrow. If you're in Benoni, Son of My Sorrow, just pull in, have a look, see the guys. It'll be on CSA's YouTube channel, so please have a look there. There won't be any commentary, but yeah, we know the drill. Just be there to watch. The guys you need, like you. If you haven't seen Michalim Pongwana, please watch him. He looks like a West Indian. You'll be like, what's this brother doing? Did they do like a shirt swap at the start of the game? No, he's South African. He's our own. He looks like Jason Holder. He plays probably even better than him. Has a much better upside. Please watch him. Dave Bettingham
if you
in the flesh.
if you want
Watch
to
him.
if you want to know why I love Dr. Bedham so much and think so highly of him, go and watch. He'll
Yeah,
tell you. He'll
yeah.
show you.
Yeah. And so here are the games, just to bring it through for our audio guys. 21st to the 24th of November, Willamore Park in Benoni. Then they play on the 28th to the 1st of December at Buffalo Park in East London. And then the 5th to the 8th of December at the Mangaung Oval in Bloemfontein. So please go out there or watch it on the CSA channel. It's going to be some great cricket, high quality cricket. The West Indies really have some nice young talent coming through. I think Jaden Seals will be here, which is really good because he's a quality fast bowler. He's kind of like Gerald Coetzee, very wayward at times because Gerald's wayward because he's just too fast. Jaden Seals can swing the ball around the corner, and it'll be interesting to see if he's now started to master the ability to get this ball, not to swing too much, but to still swing. Because if he does that, he can be very dangerous. And Jaden comes back to the place where he actually to the country where he played, where he made his debut against in West Indies. So it's going to be quite an interesting one, and yeah, I think it's going to be some good cricket. Well, for the nerds out there, the cricketing nerds, myself and Tim, we're going to enjoy it, but you can enjoy it too. So please do check it out. We'll be back soon. Might be this week, might be definitely next week, Monday, to talk about everything that's happening in the SAA series, because we stop everything, which is the weirdest thing. But anyway, because we have an inbound tour for SAA, so that's quite interesting. But outside of that, Tim, do you have any last comments about this SAA team before we go?
No, I can't think of anything specific. But I just to reiterate what you just said, instead of going on social media and saying who's this, who's that, never heard of this bloke, go and watch. Go and
Yeah.
watch. Go and
Yes.
watch. Find out. Find out who they are. This is
Yes.
this is the next best team for South Africa, particularly
Yeah.
in the batting department. There's a lot of
Well,
young
most
talent
essentially
there.
in the next 6 months, right? Because if players are unavailable, you can't bring them in. So I think they've done a great job, and it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Shukri will be there doing it. I just hope they don't mess guys around. That's my only issue. Call a spade a spade. If guys are only going to play for New Zealand, they're only going to play for New Zealand. If guys are being looked at for longer than New Zealand, then say that. And if guys are just there to fill a gap and an injury, let them know the two. And that's all they want. I think that's what all the players want, right? They just want an opportunity to play cricket, to know where they stand, and to know if there's a future in this, so they can make decisions, right? And so, um, yeah, good luck to the guys. Neil Brandt will be leading the team, which is also kind of intriguing. kind of giving like a Titans vibe there, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, outside of that, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Full Quarter Podcast. If not, then we'll have another episode in between the week. Who knows? The world of cricket turns in roundabouts, and yeah, all the best to the Indian fans who will be seeing Australia again on the 23rd of November, because somehow, some way, Australia's not going home to do a trophy parade because they've done many of those. They are going to go and punish India again and make them cry even more. So that's going to be quite interesting. But outside of that, thanks, Tim. Thanks to everyone. Remember, follow us on X at Full Quarter Pod. Subscribe to the One World Sports Radio channel. Leave a comment and review. And on audio on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Outside of that, it's goodbye and lesale kakahiso.